just working at a nice, comfortable level. That's always the key. So, some of these things are kind of obvious. In fact, probably most of them are obvious, but it's important to kind of keep a lot of these things in perspective and just be aware of them. The main thing is when you're relaxed, you're not stressed. Everybody always does better. Anybody have a question? You're a quiet group today. All right. So here, let's go to the next slide here. So here's some strategies. Okay, there's lots of strategies. What I really want to do for the next half hour or 45 minutes, however long this ends goes to, is answer people's questions that you have. But there's strategies for everything on the SAT. If you're a student of mine and you've done any sort of prep, probably you've had learned some kind of strategies. The basic areas of strategies are for answering questions, for pacing, some of the logistical things, should you guess or not guess. And again, these are all things that you can look at in a very macro sense or in a really little sense, getting down to some of the real minutia of what's going on in the test as well. All right, so math strategies. This is how I teach math. Again, I'm not going to go through this in a lot of detail. Just kind of throwing it up here as a review or maybe a guideline, especially if you've been working with me. But make sure you know what the question wants. Make sure you're clear about what the question is giving you to help you. See if there's a strategy you can use. The two big strategies I teach are called plugging in and back solving. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a little bit. So that's our math strategy. And here's a math problem. So here, why don't everybody try this problem? Okay, let me take everybody off. Everybody should be unmuted. All right. So, yeah, hello.
Hello?
Yeah, you have a question? No, that's okay. Um, try this problem here. This is a pretty typical SAT math problem. Okay,
Yeah.
I will work this out in a second. But I want to see how everybody does because there's a couple little strategies you can do here. There's an algebra way to do it. There's a little bit more of a kind of technique way to do it. So let's see how everybody does. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds here, maybe a minute, to try to work through this problem. Yeah. While you're doing that, okay. Sorry. Do I still see the problem?
Yeah.
Okay. I know at least one person on this. I think I worked on this problem with a couple days ago, so you may have a little bit of an advantage, but that's okay. Now, this is a couple things I'll point out while you're doing this, especially if you haven't done much test prep. This is problem number 12. This is in a section that has 20 math problems in it.
Uh-huh.
So, one of the things most people have learned is that as you work through a section of a test, the problems typically get progressively more difficult. So, since this is a little bit past the middle, this would be considered probably a medium difficult problem. This is not an easy gimme kind of problem. It's
Mhm.
going to be a slightly challenging problem. All right, let me show you how I would do this problem. I'm going to have to switch screens to do it, but here's the idea. You got positive and negative numbers. Numbers picked at random. What's the probability? And the probability is positive is 3/5. What's the value of n over p? Okay, so here's what we got. Um, Oops, technology breakdown for a second. There we go. Okay, so what they're saying is we have positive numbers and we have negative numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, now the probability it's positive is 3/5. and we want to know n over p. Easiest way to do this is to make a chart. Okay, so how I do this is say p, number n. Now the trick is create a new column, all. Okay. Now
Yes.
we know, because the positive is 3/5, that for every 3 that are positive, 5 would have to be all.
Yes.
And based on that, we can determine, get a nice color here, that the number of negative is how many?
2.
Good. So let's answer the question. How many negative? 2. How many positive? 3. Answer is 2/3, or letter C. Now there's another way you could do this problem. It's very algebraic based, which I'm not even going to bother showing you. This technique is kind of a neat little problem solving one. If we just kind of scoot back to the question, but this is known in SAT land as a part to whole problem. We've got the parts here, and we've got the whole over here, and we're somehow trying to relate the pieces to each other. Okay? Yes.
Yep.
All right. Yes. Don't be too excited. All right. Let's go back here. Let's try one more math problem. Actually, we got 2 more math problems. This one is going to use the technique of plugging in. It's an easy problem if you have the right technique. A difficult problem if you don't. So I'm going to give everybody 1 minute. Let's see how you do here. X and Y are positive consecutive odd integers. Y is greater than X. It's defined as equal to Y squared minus X squared. I know at least one person that should get this problem right, for sure. Just as an aside while you're working on this, again, if you have a question, there's a little thing you can actually raise your hand, which is kind of cool. It's a little icon that you click. Looks like a little hand. Or if you go into the control panel on the right where the orange arrow is, you can go down to the bottom and actually just type in a question in the text. All right, take another second here. Now again, this is number 16. This is not a gimme problem. This is a relatively challenging problem. Probably problem that 4 out of 5 people would probably get wrong. Certainly 2 out of 3 would definitely get wrong. So let's see. Who thinks they got it? All right, pretty good. All right, here we go. So here's how we're going to solve this problem. Okay, problem says, again, sorry I can't show you both. X and Y, positive, consecutive, odd integers. Y greater than X. Which one equals Y squared minus X squared? Okay, now what we're going to do is, this is a technique called plugging in. What that basically means is we're going to pick numbers, whoops, for X and Y. Okay? So I'm going to say, all right, let's make positive consecutive odd integers would be something like 3, 5, 7, 9, whatever. So let's make X or Y 7, X 5. Okay. So what's Y squared minus X squared? So here's the thing. If X is 7 and Y is 5, Y squared minus X squared is 24. Now what we do, and this is a little complicated, maybe, but what you do is, we're going to go back here, sorry. I'm going to go back here to the problem. Ooh, where'd it go? No, we won't. We're going to go to the list from the problem. This is the live stuff here. And we're going to look at the answers. Here's our answers. A, 2x. B, 4x. C, 2x plus 2. D is 2x plus 4. And E is 4x plus 4. And what you're going to do is we're going to replace the x value in. So 2 times 5 is 10. 4 times 5, 20. 2 times 5 plus 2, 12. 2 times 5 plus 4. And 4 times 5 plus 4 is? There we go. So that's 24. That's 24. Answer is E. All right. Again, this is not intended to be like an SAT class as much as what I'm trying to do is just show you, some of the techniques that you can use. Hopefully, you've been learning along the way um, to shortcut some of the problems and go from there. And these are two really pretty good examples of them. So let me go back to the. Oh, why is it not going back? Sorry. Hmm, all right. Hang on a second. Get rid of this thing. Trying to get back to the PowerPoint, but for some reason it's not cooperating. There we go. Hmm. Anybody have a question?
I do.
Go ahead.
I was wondering for the problem that you just did, how you knew to choose 5 and 7.
Excellent question. Okay. It's semi-random, but
Uh-huh.
if you look back at the problem, which I'm trying to get back to, for some reason this kind of froze up a little bit. Um,
It's okay.
the only thing it really tells you is that they're positive consecutive odd integers. So what you need to do are pick values that fulfill that stipulation.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
positive is positive. Consecutive odd is pretty easy. 3, 5, 7, 9, whatever. Consecutive means they have to be in order. Now I picked 5 and 7 just because they're comparatively easy numbers. We could have picked
Yeah.
3 and 5. We could have picked 9 and 11. You couldn't pick 3 and 11 because they're not consecutive.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Now, one of the things you could try is, now if you want or later, is try doing it with two different numbers. Maybe try doing it with 5 and 3. Now, you should
Uh,
get the same answer because the answer is what the answer is. Um, but oh, there we go. Now I know why it wasn't working. Sorry about that.
okay.
I put my book on the mouse. uh, as you have been in my office, and there's a lot of junk in this office. Anyway, so here, try it again. Except I used 5 and 7. Maybe try using 7 and 9. Use 21 and 19. Now the only problem with them is when you get big numbers, you've got larger numbers to deal with. But with a calculator, it's not really such a big deal.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question? Good question. That's actually a really good question, and it's a common thing that the more of these kind of questions you do, the more comfortable you get doing them, and you tend to be able to go through them a little bit more quickly. All right, let's go back here now. I actually have another math problem, but I think for the sake of time, I'll flash this one up here. This is another tricky problem. You want to try this one?
Yeah.
Let's go for it. That's the attitude I like. All right. Okay. Now, same thing. First of all, let me even give you a little more instruction here. It's all variables, right? There's hardly any numbers here. So one of the
Yeah.
things that we're going to use our math technique called plugging in is we got variables all over the place. Okay? So we're going to do the same
Yeah.
thing. Now we're going to we're going to try to replace our numbers with variables. So try this one here. See how we do. I'll work this one out in a second too.
Okay.
That was a good question. Is it Kaylee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I pronounced it right. That's a good question. I would probably go out on a limb and say, um, the people I tutor, um, would know the answer to that because I dwell on the fact of variables plugging in and things like that. But
Yeah.
that's okay. Again, that's one of the reasons I like doing these things is because it kind of throws a lot of ideas out. Okay, I'm gonna give you another second. I'm gonna pull this up in the book so I can look at it. Everybody got it? Let me switch back for a second to the get back to the little screen here in a second. All right, let's. I'm gonna go through this one a little more quickly just for the sake of time. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, let's go green. All right, ready? And what's the first thing they tell us? The average of x and y is k, right? So
Yeah.
x plus y over 2 is k. So here's our technique. We're going to pick values for x and y. Now you want to make them kind of user friendly. So I'm going to go 4 and 6. What's 4 plus 6?
10.
10. What's 10 divided by 2?
5.
5. So if x is 4 and if y is 6, we've now defined k as 5.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, now what else do they tell us? The average
Um.
of x, y, and z is, well, that's what we want. What's the average of x, y, and z? That's what we want. Now we already know what's x, 4.
4.
What's y, 6. All right, so
Mhm.
let's make z 5. Because what's 4 plus 6 plus 5? 15. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay. We got some repetitive numbers here, but that's okay. So here's the deal. The average of x and y gives you k. The average of x, y, and z gives you the answer. Now we're going to go down our list. Which of the following is that average? So the first one is 2k plus z over 3, which is 2 times 5 plus 5. All right, it's a little sloppy. That one actually works. Next one, 2k plus z over 2, which is not going to work. Now, just to save time, I'm going to tell you the answer is A.
Okay.
Now,
That makes sense.
this is a tricky, actually a very difficult problem to do by algebra. Easy problem to do by technique.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pick up the pace here a little bit. Anybody else have a question? Let's see if anybody has their hand raised. Yeah, we got one hand raised. Ooh, so exciting. Okay, we got that question answered. Okay, anybody else have a question? Good. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about reading really quickly. I'm not going to break down and do reading strategies. I'm just going to tell you that there's basically two major types of reading questions. sentence completions and the reading itself. The main ways I teach it anyway with the sentence completions, try to find context, try to pick words of your own, try to put match those words with the choices you have underneath the sentence. For the reading, there's a thing I teach called the 3W plan. That centers on you not trying not to read the entire passage, but instead focusing on the questions and where they're indicating that you should read and what you need to look for when you get there. The next thing is writing. Now, you notice this screen is almost white because there's not a whole lot of strategy for the multiple choice writing, especially if you're not particularly strong with the grammar. But the two things you can try to do is fix it yourself and then find the right answer, or kind of like back solving with math, take the answers and read them into the question and work from there. And then there's the essay. Again, this is obviously not a complete discussion of any of these things, but the main thing I try to tell people with the essay, and this is really critical, is the essay is a technical writing exercise. It is not a creative or research type paper. The people reading the essay are not really interested in the fantastic examples that you may come up with to support what you're writing about. They're looking at how strong your thesis statement is. They're looking how well organized your paper is or your essay is. They're looking at the vocabulary you use. Are you using quote unquote 11th grade SAT kind of words? Or are you using not um, grammar, sentence structure, kind of the overall impression that it gives? There's a rubric in the book, if you have the blue SAT book, about page 110, that kind of breaks these down. But the key thing on the essay, if you haven't done one, I would practice one. But the key thing on the essay is presentation. Just to give you some indication how important this is, you get 25 minutes to write an essay. The person reading it is going to spend 90 seconds reading it, a minute and a half, that's it. So they are not all that concerned about the little details. They're looking at some very specific things that they're trained to look for, and that's how they score it. Okay, anyone have any questions? Now, by this, I mean you could have just a general question about SATs or even ACTs, or if you have an SAT book and there's a question in the book you want to cite and we can try to work on a little bit, that's all good. But this is your time here to anything I can do to help people or take it from there. Let me see if anybody is. Okay, got that out of the way. Anyone have a question? Everybody feel like you're ready for the test? Let me make sure. Hang on, let me get everybody. Everybody's good to go. Okay. All right. Let me just go back here for a second. All right. Um, Here's some closing ideas then. What's next for you basically is you're going to take the test in a few days, and it's a big thing. I mean, I would take the test seriously. You do have a fallback because you can always take it again in April for an ACT or May for the SAT. Certainly the fall. Most of you know it takes about 3 weeks to get your scores. You get them online in about 3 weeks if you've registered online, which most people do. They'll come in the mail a week or two after that. Normally, the mailed report is a lot more detailed, but you'll already know what you have for the most part. So you can have them online or in the mail. Um, I think it's important to prep for the test, and the main reason is not really because you want to get a higher score, although that's obviously important. But the main reason is so you have a sense of confidence and you know what to expect. When you don't have any surprises, um, and you know what's coming, it's so much easier. And that's a very compelling reason to try to plan ahead a little bit. Obviously, the test is in 36 hours. You're not going to do a whole lot of prep in the next day and a half. But looking ahead is something you might consider. The best way to prep is practice. Hands on, get a book, open it up, write in it, bang the calculator, read, study vocabulary. This is a hands-on experience. So that's basically what I do. I tutor a lot of things in addition to test prep. I'm working with probably half to 60% of the people on this seminar, so you obviously know that. But the key thing is to know what to expect going in and have a system to deal with it. And every question has a little system you can use. They overlap. You don't have to learn 100 systems. 3 or 4 good ones will get you through the whole test. So time is your valuable. The longer you can prep for this, typically the better that you do. All right. Oops. What just happened there? All kinds of. That's it. PowerPoint's over. Anybody have any questions? Very quiet group today. I want to thank everybody who came on. Oh wait, there's another question. Please explain. Okay, Allison, I'll get to that one in a second. Okay, hang on. Um, um, I want to thank everybody who came on. We've got about 15 more minutes, so if a question pops into your mind in the next second. I'm going to answer a question here sort of live, so hopefully I'll be able to do it. So if you want to just hang on. If you have the SAT book, the blue one, I'm going to do it's on page 485, right? What number you got? 13. Okay. Ooh, this is a good question. This is one of my favorites. Okay, so here we go. Somebody wants to know. This is the question. I'm going to write it out. Let me get back into the whiteboard here and write it out. So this will be real live, hands-on stuff here for everybody. Question says, and this is a good math question. If n is a positive number, n's a positive number, and 2 to the nth power plus 2 to the n plus 1 power is k. That's all one expression. What is 2 to the n plus 2 in terms of k? All right, now, first of all, you got all kinds of, non stuff going on here. And then there's some answers. But so here's the deal. N's positive. I'm sorry for bad handwriting. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a technique called plugging in. My hint that I was going to plug in is that there's a lot of variables. Okay. So I'm going to say, in fact, somebody want to pick a number for n? Who's there? Somebody pick a number for n. Okay. We're going to go n is 3. So here's what we're going to do. That means 2 to the third plus 2 to the third plus 1 equals k. Now what I'm basically doing is taking this equation here and I'm just replacing in n with 3. What's 2 to the third? 8. What's 2 to the fourth? 16. So k is 24. Hang on one second, everybody. Sorry. Okay. Now, what the problem wants is 2n plus 2. Well, 2n plus 2, we're replacing, I'm sorry, is 2 times 3 plus 2, because we're going to put the 3 in there, which is 2 to the fifth, which is 32. Okay, so here's what we've learned. If n is 3, therefore we can solve to get k at 24, and 2 to the n plus 2, which is what the problem wants, is 32. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our answer list and replace k with 24 and see what happens. So A is k minus 1 over 2, which is 24 minus 1 over 2, or 23 halves. Now we want it to be 32, So that's wrong. B is 4k over 3, which is 4 times 24 over 3, which is, ooh, look at this. That's a winner. I'll do one more. C is 2k, which is 2 times 24, which is 48. D, I'll do one more. 2k plus 1, which is 2 times 24 plus 1, which is 49. None. E is going to also be wrong. So the answer is a fair amount of work for a problem, but that's how it works sometimes. But the technique is obviously math. Technique is plugging in, and what you do is you replace the number with your own numbers, and you work it from there, and then you compare it to the list underneath the question. All right, everybody clear with that? I know this is not the optimal way to teach. Really, the goal of today is not necessarily to have a lesson in how to do SAT math, but that's okay if that's what we want to go through. All right, anybody else have a question? I think we got it through them all then. All right, here's what we're gonna do then. Let me just check here. I think we got no, we're all set. Okay, all the questions are answered, so we're good. Um, you know what I'm gonna do then? Unless if no one else has any more questions, I'm gonna wrap this up in a couple minutes. Again, I appreciate everybody who came on board, and I appreciate your attention. And if there's anything I can do to help you out, please let me know. If oh wait, we got another question. No, we're good. Um, I will post up here. Hold on. Let me go back in here for a second. Many of you know this, but I'll throw this up here. That's how. These are the two ways you can get a hold of me. Okay. And if you have a question tonight or tomorrow, let me know. Specifically for those people I've been lucky to work with, I appreciate it. If I don't work with you between now and Saturday, good luck. If I haven't been able to work with you yet, good luck too. I really appreciate you coming on. I hope you found this helpful. And that's it. So if anything changes and something comes up in the next day and a half and you have a question, let me know. Otherwise, I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Anybody else want to ask anything or say anything or volunteer anything? All right, so let's just do this here. That done. See, everybody powerhoused. Appreciate it. Um, but we're good to go. All right, everybody, listen. Good night. Thank you. Have a good day tomorrow. I know we got a half day in Upper Dublin, maybe not in everybody's school, but enjoy. And I'll hopefully be talking to everybody soon. Don't be afraid to get in touch if I can help you. And I'm going to cut this off. As soon as I end this, it'll mute everybody out anyway, and it'll close that on their computer. Thanks again, everybody. Last
Thank you
chance.
so much.
Anybody got any questions? Okay, if you change your
Thank
mind,
you.
let me know. You're welcome. You're welcome. Allison, I'll see you tomorrow, right? Yeah, and Caitlin, maybe. Caitlin, good luck. Everybody else, take care. So long. Have a good night.